In this video, I'm going to show you how to do slip stitch mosaic color work in the round. Normally slip stitch mosaic color work is done in rows and it's done in garter stitch. And because we're working in the round, I thought it was a really easy way to convert it into a stockinette base, meaning the knit stitch shows on every side. And what's really interesting also about slip stitch color work is that even though it looks like there's multiple colors going on the same row, you're actually only doing one color every time you work around. So it's really one of the more simple ways to get started on color work. So right here is the hat, and what I'm going to show you today is the beginning of the cowl, which is done identically. We're going to cast on, work in the round, do a ribbing, do our color work, and then you'll just want to download the patterns, and each one will explain separately how you either close up the crown of the hat or do a second set of ribbing to finish off the cowl. So let's get started. Whether you choose to make the hat or the cowl, each one takes 2 balls of Be So Brave, my brand new American merino wool that's 100% made in the US. It's worsted weight, and today I'm going to be using Cape Cod Bay and Waves of Green colorways, and I'm going to be using a small set of circular needles that is size 9 or 5.5 millimeters. We're going to start with a long tail cast on, and depending on whether you're making the hat or the cowl, you'll just be casting on a different number of stitches. In the hat we cast on 72 stitches, and in the cowl we're going to cast on 96 stitches. So you want to start with a slip knot and slide that onto your knitting needle. Then we're going to hold our tail in the front and our working yarn in the back, and we're going to grab the yarn around our thumb with the tail and pull the working yarn through the tail loop on the thumb to create a second cast on stitch. And you want to do that repeatedly until you have the desired number of stitches on your needles. Okay, we've got all of our stitches cast on, and the first few rounds are in a twisted rib pattern, and what that means is we're going to knit the first stitch through the back loop, which is the one to the right and to the back, like that, and then we're going to purl the next stitch. And then we'll knit through the back loop, and then we'll purl the next stitch. And you want to repeat that all the way around, and actually we'll be doing this for every round of this particular portion. The ribbing is going to be the same round, just knit through the back loop only and then purl regular. You want to do that for a total of 10 rounds. Okay, our twisted rib is done, and I know I said I was going to use Waves of Green along with Cape Cod Bay like I did for the hat, but I thought it might be interesting if I pulled in a different color, a different neutral for the cowl to make them coordinate but not be matchy-matchy. So I'm going to bring in Picket Fence, which is the much lighter neutral, and I thought it might be an interesting contrast to see the same stitch pattern with a different combination of colors in the cowl than I did in the hat. So going forward, we're going to use that color. But before we get started on the changing of colors, the first round of the actual cowl section after you finish the ribbing is to work 3 stitches in increase all the way around. We want to get 3 extra stitches in. So depending on whether you're doing the hat or the cowl, it'll be a different number of stitches in between the increases. But what I wanted to show you is how to do the increase. It's called a KFB, or a knit into the front and the back of the same stitch. So what we're going to do is insert our knitting needle in the front loop and knit, and then go to the back of the same stitch and knit a second time, so we have 2 stitches now before we pull that stitch off of our left hand needle. And then I'm going to knit. For the cowl, it's 31 even stitches. And I'll do that so I can show you the increase again. Okay, so I'm going to do that increase again, the knit into the front and back of the same stitch. So we're going to insert our right hand needle into the front of the left hand needle stitch and pull up a stitch, and then work into the back loop of the same stitch and pull up a second loop before we drop that loop off of our left hand needle. So we've made 2 stitches from 1. So you want to do that a total of 3 times, evenly spaced around this round, and then in the next round I'll show you how we get started with our color work. If you haven't already added a stitch marker, now would be a great time to add one, and we're getting ready to start our first color change, and we're going to start with a knit one and a slip one. So we're going to knit the first stitch, regular, and we'll be able to snug these up a little bit as we go. And then we're going to slip the second stitch purlwise, which means you place your knitting needle as though you're going to purl where it's facing to the side in front of you, and then slip that next stitch off the left hand needle and onto the right hand needle. Okay, just like that. All of the slip stitches in this pattern are going to be done exactly that way. So now we're going to knit the next 2 stitches, and I just like to knit the first stitch with my tail and my working yarn. We'll end up weaving those in as we go later. So we're going to knit 2, and then we're going to slip the next stitch purlwise like that. We're going to knit 2, and then we're going to purl the next one, slip the next one purlwise. Knit 2, slip the next one purlwise. So that's our repeat for this round. We're going to knit 2, slip 1 purlwise, and we're going to do that all the way until we get to the last stitch, and the last stitch we're going to knit and then slip the marker. Okay, we've come to the end of our round, so we're going to slip our marker. And now every time you do a color, you do the color for 2 rounds. And each of those 2 rounds are identical. So you could either follow the pattern and knit 1, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1, or a good cheat that you can do at this point. When you're doing the second round of a color, all you have to do is knit the stitches that are in the color of the yarn you're working with and purl the ones that are not. So this pattern is actually a very simple repeat. This round is, but some of the other rounds are a little more complicated, and that will become a really quick tip for you, is that on the second round of any color repeat, all you have to do is knit the stitches that are in the working yarn color and slip the ones that are not. So I'll finish up round 2 here, and then I'll show you how we do the pattern row for round 3. Okay, we finished rounds 1 and 2 of our slip stitch mosaic pattern, and we did it in color B. So now we're going to switch to, which was picket fence. We're now going to switch back to color A, which is Cape Cod Bay, to start round 3. Round 3 starts with knit 2, slip 1 4 times. So we're going to knit 2, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1. Okay, so now we're going to knit 3, and slip 1. Then we're going to knit 2, slip 1 3 times. Knit 2, slip 1, 2 times, and 3 times. And now we're starting with an asterisk, which means what we're going to do from here on out, we're going to repeat for as many multiples as we have. So we're going to knit 1 and slip 1. Then we're going to knit 2, slip 1 3 times. Once, twice, and 3 times. Knit 3, slip 1, then knit 2, slip 1 3 times. Knit 2, slip 1, okay, so now we're going to repeat from the asterisk until we get to our last 2 stitches, and then knit the last 2. So we're back to the asterisk with knit 1, slip 1, And don't forget to download the pattern, and that'll show you exactly how we do this. Okay, we did knit 2, slip 1 3 times, then it's a knit 3 and a slip 1, then knit 2, slip 1 3 times, okay, back to the beginning of the asterisk, which is a knit 1 and a slip 1, knit 2, slip 1 3 times, knit 3, slip 1, then knit 2, slip 1 3 times, and according to the pattern we should have 2 last stitches after our last repeat, and we do, and we're supposed to knit the last 2. Now, as complicated as this stitch pattern round was, aren't you glad about that trick now, that for the repeat of it, meaning rounds 3 and 4 are identical, our working yarn, if the stitches are working yarn, we knit it, and if the stitch is not our working yarn, we slip it. So I'll just give you a little run through of that. So we knit those, slip, knit. If it's blue, we knit, and if it's white, we slip, only because our working yarn is blue. If it was the opposite, we'd do the opposite. So it's all based on what your working yarn is for that second repeat round of the pattern. Each pattern round is repeated a second time. Whoops, started talking, forgot to slip, before we change colors. It's every 2 rounds we change color, and the second round of that pattern is repeated on the second one. Okay, so we'll go ahead and finish that all the way around, and then I'll show you how we do rounds 5 and 6. For round 5, we're switching back to color B, and we start with a knit 3, and then an asterisk, meaning that everything we do from now on will be the pattern repeat for this round. So we're going to slip 1, knit 2, and we're going to do that a total of 3 times. Then we're going to slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1 3 times, knit 2, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1, and then knit 3. Okay, and so we're going to repeat from the asterisk all the way around. Slip 1, knit 2 3 times. Once, twice, 3 times, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, then knit 2, slip 1 3 times, once, three times, knit 3. Okay, then back to the beginning of the repeat, which is slip 1, knit 2 3 times, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1 3 times, and knit 3, and then we are back to the beginning of the asterisk, slip 1, knit 2 3 times, and then slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, then knit 2, slip 1 3 times, That brings us to the end of our round. Again, this is a more complicated pattern round, so aren't you glad for that trick now? I was so glad when I figured that out. It will really speed things along a lot more nicely. So we're working with the picket fence color, so we're going to knit the stitches that match our working yarn and slip the stitches that are not our matching color. So this round should go super quick and be pretty mindless. And what's interesting now is that you actually have all of the stitches and the pattern repeats you're going to need for this entire project. The only thing is, this was a 6-round repeat, but it's a 12-round repeat because we now alternate those 6 rounds with changing color. So because we have 2 colors, but we did 3 pattern rounds, if you repeat them, they'll be done in the opposite color. So rounds 1 and 2 and rounds 7 and 8 are actually the same pattern rounds, but rounds 1 and 2 are in color B and 7 and 8 are in color A. And when you download the pattern, that will make a lot more sense to you. So what you'll want to do is just repeat these 6 rounds, but because you repeat them with the different color every 2 rounds, it'll end up being 12 rounds before you've actually done your color sequencing and your pattern sequencing. So you just want to repeat this and follow along in the pattern and refer back to the video if you need it, and do this to the desired length, and then I'll show you how we revert back to our original number of stitches and finish off our twisted rib edging for the other side and how to bind off. Okay, we're almost ready to finish the cowl now, and I just wanted to show you side by side what the hat and the cowl look like. And it's kind of funny, but you know how we did a twisted rib for the edging? I actually intended to do that on the hat as well, but you can see that I made a mistake in starting my first round of the color work, and it ends up being plain ribbing on the front. So if you don't like twisted rib, I just wanted to show you that, you know, it looks pretty with plain ribbing also. But that's what it would have looked like with the twisted rib. I did the twisted rib correctly on the cowl, and just I really like seeing how it looks different but the same in the different color combinations. I think my vision for doing a hat and a cowl on this project, and sorry if it sounds corny, but I kind of wanted it to be like a his and hers set, where like you could give your man the hat and you could wear the cowl, and they aren't matchy, but they kind of match. So anyway, you could wear them both yourself, you could give them both as gifts, you can do whatever you want with them, but that's kind of what my vision was for this. Anyway, we're ready to get started on our decrease round to decrease back to the original stitch. Make sure you download both free patterns so that you can find out how to do the very simple crown decreases for the hat, or for how to do this section of the cowl. We're going to decrease back down to our original 96 stitch count for the cowl, and that means we're going to knit 2 together over the first 2 stitches in the round, and then knit the next 30 and repeat that 3 times, so that we will decrease down from 99 stitches back to our original 96. Okay, and so now we're going to finish off our cowl with the twisted rib that we did at the beginning. So what we're going to do is knit into the back loop of the first stitch. You could fasten off picket fence now, your color B. We're going to purl the second stitch and then knit through the back loop only of the next stitch and purl the next stitch. So basically this is all you need to do for the rest of the pattern. We're going to do this all the way around this row, and then we're going to repeat this round, and we're going to repeat this round until we've reached the same height as our beginning ribbing. I think it was 10 rounds. Make sure you download the free pattern to get all of the information you need, and after that I will show you how to bind this off. I decided I liked the ribbing shorter for the neck edge, so I stopped after 5 rounds, and now I'm just going to show you how we finish it off. We're going to do a simple bind off, but I want to just keep it loose. We're not going to do an extra loose bind off, we're just going to do traditional bind off, but just try to keep it nice and loose. So we're going to knit 2 stitches, then pull the first stitch up and over the second stitch, and off the needles. Now when I say keep it loose, I mean don't pull on your working yarn when you do that before you go to the next stitch. Just leave it relaxed and as it is. So we'll knit the next stitch now, and we'll pull the second stitch up and over the first and off the needles. Just don't pull it tight. We'll just leave it just as it is. So we'll knit another stitch, and we'll take the stitch before it, pull it up and over and off the needle. And as you're working, you're not putting any tension on your working yarn, and that's how I keep my bind off nice and loose. Okay, so you just want to do this all the way around, and then you'll fasten off, secure, and weave in all your loose ends. Then we'll give it a nice little hand wash bath in Rapture and lay it out flat to dry, and you are going to have one squishy, soft, gorgeous cowl to enjoy for yourself or to give as a gift. More information on downloading these free patterns and much more, plus information on my Be So Brave yarn, is available on my website, KristinOmdahl.com.